Well, we are back. You guys are listening to Utah Home Sweet Home on K-Talk Radio. I've got my guest, Trevor Thompson, here. I am Yoshi Shiraki, your host, and it is time for Nightmare Story. Now, we're talking about real estate. So, oftentimes, when you have a nightmare story with real estate, it can be expensive. That's what makes it a nightmare. I've got a couple stories that I can share. I'll share one, but I'm going to let Trevor start with a nightmare story. So Trevor, if you don't mind, please give us a little story of a nightmare.
Okay, so I've been in the investing world for over 7 years now. I started out as a property manager, and there's all kinds of problems that can go wrong with rentals. The story I actually chose to go over with you today was a listing from last summer, so it's fairly recent. A property that I listed, my client had already moved out of their home. For different health reasons, they moved in with a family member, and they had this house sitting there empty in order to make repairs. And he was just doing little stuff. This wasn't a flip. He was just prepping it, cleaning up, fixing small items in order to get the house ready to sell. Well, I was in between appointments one day, and I got a phone call from just a random guy who was driving around looking at houses, okay? And he called me and said, "Hey, do you have a house in West Valley?" And I'm thinking, well, yeah, I have a couple of houses in West Valley. Which one is it? Well, where are you? Well, actually, I don't know. But there's water pouring out of the front of it. So my challenge in the first place was, okay, there's 2 or 3 properties that I can think of in West Valley right now, but one of them has water. And of course, your heart sinks, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Water is a big deal when you're dealing with property, carpet, sheetrock, anything that can get wet and damaged.
Absolutely.
I had to ask him a couple of questions, and he mentioned there was an elementary school down the street, and then it kind of clicked. I was like, oh good, that's not one that I own. Which is terrible to say, right?
Right.
It was one of my listings. But I was able to figure out which one it was. I stopped what I was doing. I drove over there, opened the door, and of course you go straight downstairs and turn off that water valve, that main water valve down in the mechanical room. So we got the water turned off, and there's water and sheetrock dripping all over the basement. It's a split entry home, so you go down 4 steps into the basement level, and it's just hanging almost from one end of the house to the other. So when something like that happens, it feels very scary, and it's expensive and everything like that. But I want to leave this story with there's a lot of hope, okay? Because we got the water shut off. What the problem was the toilet supply valve, the water that feeds the toilet water. That line that feeds the toilet water had popped off the toilet and was just spraying, maybe for as long as a day and a half.
Ooh.
Okay? We stopped the water, we dried it out. My client was able to hire a disaster mitigation company that came in and did the cleanup. Okay? He had good insurance.
Okay.
His insurance covered the cost of the disaster cleanup. They hired a contractor. Okay, we were actually under contract to sell this home when the water damage happened, so our buyer canceled. They got totally scared, they canceled. Even though I was telling them, hey, we can fix this, you're going to have a brand new house. They canceled, they walked away, they didn't want to be patient. But the thing is, and this is why there's so much hope, is we were able to get a contractor hired. Within 6 weeks, we had that house put back together, and now it was new. All the wood paneling was gone. The wallpaper was gone. We had fresh sheetrock, fresh paint, fresh carpet, new plumbing lines. It was almost not a full remodel, but it was a remodeled house all downstairs now. So actually, when we got done with the repairs, we relisted the property for about $30,000 more.
That's fantastic.
So my client, not only were all the repairs covered by insurance, we raised the price $30,000, and then we sold it within another 30 days.
Wow.
So is it really a nightmare story?
I was about to ask you, is that a nightmare story, Trevor? That sounds like a happily ever after story.
Yeah, it really does. And that's what's fun about real estate is as a property manager, I remember the call. It was December. We got a call about a fire in one of our tenants' houses.
Oh, wow.
And our first question, of course, is everyone okay? Did anyone die?
Yeah.
They all got out of the house good.
Thank goodness.
Okay? Now, the next question was, how did it start? It was their dryer. They had a gas dryer. The lint trap was full, so clean out your lint traps, guys.
Yes.
The lint trap was full, gas dryer, started a fire. The the icing on the cake for that one was that this had been historically a very difficult tenant for us.
Oh.
And because of the fire, they had to move.
Oh no.
So again, it ended up being a happy ending.
Yeah, eviction 101.
Nobody died. We actually got to remodel that house, improve the property a great deal, and we got a new tenant that we enjoyed better.